If you've ever been given a report or a contract or a set of figures that you don't understand, perhaps it's not your area of expertise, in the past you may have needed to do some real research into it or to ask someone else. But using AI, you can actually ask it to check information for you, to analyze information for you, to explain it in layman's terms. And then, if you're still not sure, you can actually ask it to cite its sources so you can double check that the information it is pulling is accurate. So, for example, perhaps you want to check a list of statements, a list of finances, and check that national insurance or taxation has been calculated correctly, the depreciation on an asset and the relief on that asset has been calculated correctly. You can now use AI to do that for you, and that's what is covered in this next section. So keep watching for more information.
If you're an accountant or a small business owner, it's likely that you have to analyze a lot of financial information. It's likely that you need to publish a lot of financial information as well. And it's part of your own professional competence to ensure that that information is correct. If it isn't correct, that's not going to look very good for you, particularly if you're an accountant. And even worse, if you're a business owner, it could be that you even end up with a criminal record or seeing fines delivered to you, etc., if you have incorrectly posted information about your financial situation of your business. And particularly if you're a large public organization, you can actually face prison time for doing it, particularly if you are seen to have been misleading shareholders over financial information. So what I'm going to do in this video is show you how AI can assess, check, and verify your calculations and your financial statements. Now, of course, the one I've got on the screen is quite a simple, straightforward one that you could check yourself using your own knowledge, your own skills, using the skills and tools built into Excel and other software as well. But for demonstrative purposes, I'm going to show you how you can do this quickly and easily using AI. And this is particularly relevant if you've got huge financial statements, if you've got hundreds of lines of different bits of information and calculations you need to assess. And it's going to help you to find those errors, particularly if you just look at things at face value. It perhaps looks like it's all correct. You don't want to just rely on it being correct. If someone's just come to you and say, here are the financial statements for the last year, you might just look at that and think, well, that generally looks all correct. But you want to be sure, you want to check. It's very important for compliance and audit purposes. So that's why in this video, we're going to show you how you can use AI to verify information, to analyze information, and to check that it is all correct, to check that it is compliant with regards to certain rules and regulations over taxation and accounting principles. So you can see on the screen I've got a list of financial statements from 2024 for 2023. This is a completely made up company, and we've got the revenue, the cost of sales, the profit, a list of the administrative expenses, and then also our taxation. So what we're going to do is copy this information. Now we can either just copy and paste it like we're going to do now, or we can insert the Excel document into GPT. And you can see I've already got a prompt here saying I have the financial statements for my company for the years 2024 and 2023, including revenue, cost of sales, administrative costs, operating profit, taxation, and profit after taxation. Please check and verify these figures for accuracy. So the first thing I just do is post in those figures. You can see it's posted them in, but it's also got a screenshot of the information there. It all looks very messy, but rest assured it has broken it down exactly how it is working in the Excel format. And you can see it's now analyzing that information. So we'll give it a moment just because it's got to look at those figures and analyze those figures. Now, of course, on that note, what you can also do is ask it to analyze the figures, perhaps ask it if there is anything that is worth noting, perhaps certain costs have increased by a massive amount, perhaps give some reasons why that cost may have increased. But in this video, we're only focusing on the accuracy of the figures. So we'll just give it a moment while it works. And you can see it has provided us with a verification here. It's analyzed the figures and it's finding out that there are errors. So for example, the gross profit there was correct for 2023, but there is a discrepancy there for the gross profit in 2024. And of course, that's going to lead to further discrepancies with regards to the operating profit, with regards to the profit after taxation as well. So it's highlighted as that there are incorrect calculations and also given us the correct calculations. What it can then do for us is that we can ask it to explain why that may have happened. We can also ask it to reprocess that financial statement with the correct figures. So it automatically creates for us a new financial statement with the correct figures. But I don't just want to stop there, because I want to also check for some important compliance issues. So perhaps the taxation. I want to check that it's calculated the taxation correctly based on the current tax rules. I want it to check that the national insurance is correct based on current national insurance rules. So what I might ask it to do now is to please double check the taxation, as I want to make sure it has been applied correctly according to UK rules and regulations. So it's going to search the web to check that it definitely is got the most right up-to-date information regarding to taxation, national insurance. Of course, that is publicly available information. And it even gives us the references so that we can check. And it's saying to us that, well, as of the most recent taxations for small business corporation tax, it's 19% up to 50,000, 25% for companies exceeding that, with marginal relief in between. So now what it's going to do is going to take those figures and apply it to our calculations. So we had operating profit of 364,136. Now the expected taxation for that would be £91,033.50, but we actually reported taxation of £69,185, with a huge difference there of £21,848.50 in profit. And the same for 2023. So what it's now telling us is there are big discrepancies. This could be due to deductions, relief, so we can now double check that. But it also could be that we have underreported our taxation. We've not calculated it correctly. Then go on to national insurance contributions, where it gives us the national insurance contribution rate of 13.8%. And it also mentions the thresholds. It then looks at our calculations for salaries and calculates the employer's contribution based on that. And again, our national insurance is not being calculated correctly. We actually underpaid our national insurance by over 2,500 in 2014, and we underpaid our national insurance, or we overpaid by £6 in 2013. So it's now telling us that we need to review that. So that's very important. Is the fact that it's specifically been able to pick out from this chart here that our national insurance was not paid correctly, that our taxation wasn't paid correctly, using the most up-to-date taxation regulations regarding national insurance and regarding taxation. So if we'd have just gone ahead and thought, oh, that looks okay, and blindly published it, we could be liable for underreporting our profits or for our tax not being calculated correctly, and we then being on the hook from the government for not paying our taxes, and also the same for national insurance and employers' national insurance contributions. So really important that we double checked that. We didn't just rely on the figures that we had, because it was found that there were discrepancies both in terms of the calculations in the first part of this video and also with regards to our national insurance and taxation, which was not calculated using the most up-to-date rules and regulations. So very important example there of the importance of double checking your calculations, and also how we can use AI to ensure that we are compliant, to ensure that we are staying up to date with the right rules, the right information, and calculating that national insurance and taxation correctly. You could also go even further if you were an accountant and you were analyzing how you were going to perhaps be able to claim tax relief on a certain purchase. You could put that information into ChatGPT, ask it based on the most recent regulations, how would we go about accounting for this purchase with regards to tax relief, with regards to where it was going to go, whether it was going to go in purchases, whether it was going to go where it was on our statement of financial position, etc. So you can use it as your own personal assistant, your own personal tax assistant there to advise you on how to account for certain purchases, as well as double checking your figures. So again, another really important example here of how we can use AI as a business partner to check our figures, to check for compliance, to check that we are using the correct rules and regulations and accounting for everything correctly.